To everyone that says gear doesn't matter, please stop. What's up, YouTube? It's Christopher back with another weekly vlog. This is another desk heavy week. And instead of just talking about the AI systems that I'm trying to implement into my business right now, I wanted to give a full breakdown of all the gear that I bring on set with me when I go and film an interview. We're talking cameras, lighting, audio, grip, the whole kit. So let's get into it. Okay, so starting with cameras, here I have the Sony a7S III. I love this camera. I've shot with FX6, FX3, FX30, other models of Sony. I've also shot on a couple of Canon cameras, but I can't get away from this camera. I'd probably still keep coming back to the a7S III for a couple of reasons. The first is the sensor and low light capabilities. As I said, it's pretty much the same sensor as the FX3 and FX6, so you're getting fantastic image quality. The second is the form factor. Yes, it's really nice to rig this out, but it can get heavy, and I wouldn't want to take this around if I'm just going to shoot some personal content, maybe around the city or something like that. And so once I break this down, the form factor is really, really nice. I can throw on my Peak Design camera strap, sling it across my body, and I'm ready to go. I have my camera, lens, and I still get the same phenomenal picture that I get when I'm rigging it out for my interview setup. It's pretty old, but it has stood the test of time, and it's keeping me from dropping $3,000 to $4,000 to upgrade. I brought out 3 lenses today, the Tamron 17 to 28. I actually have not shot an interview on this, but I would be interested to see what it would look like at 20 millimeters. I've really been enjoying that focal length. My second lens, this would generally be my B cam lens, is a Zeiss 55 millimeter 1.8 beast of a photo lens, but it also looks good for video. Really, really sharp, makes for a really nice side profile shot for the B cam. For the A cam, I'm running a 24 to 70 Sigma. I'll generally run it at 35 millimeters. That's one of my favorite interview focal lengths. Super basic, I know, but that's just what my eye really likes and seems to work best for my workflow. If I'm working on a bit of a larger production or just have any sort of help, I'll generally try and run prime lenses, whether I get those from a rental or I just have a crew member bring them as a part of their kit. I love the 35-85 and the 24-50 combo. I always seek to do 35-85 when I can, but sometimes you just don't have the space if you're wanting a wider shot. So that's where 24-50 is really nice. But those are my lenses. All right, now for lighting. But before we hop into it, I want to give a quick honorable mention to these wheels on the end of this C-stand. This is a $35 purchase that makes a world of difference if you use C-stands a lot or any kind of multi-stand. It's just really nice for wheeling around. Maybe if you have multiple interview sets to film in, say, one corporate office, these are a game changer because instead of lifting that heavy stand with the light, you just push it right along. Super convenient. Shout out Freako for putting me on. Yeah, so the kit that I generally run is the Aputure 300D Mark II. I've had this light, gosh, probably since like 2021 or 2022. That's been with me for a long time. This is my background light. Also had this for a significant amount of time. This is the Aputure 60X. Lightstorm, great bicolor light for putting texture or just a splash of light to replicate sunlight somewhere on your background. And the last one is this SmallRig. This light, this is a 60 watt, the RC60B. It's a bicolor light, has effects, really great, runs on internal power, and is just a really nice hair light. Also, before we keep going and move on to audio, I do want to quickly mention grip. I'm using the Matthews C-stand. These are really nice because they have the easy pull to collapse the stands. This isn't lighting, but it is grip related. Tripod here, I'm running the Manfrotto video tripod. I also have a Manfrotto travel tripod that I'm gonna be using for my B cam, but that's not typically what I bring on set. Like I said, if I have more crew members, generally one of them will have a little bit better of a video tripod instead of just a small little travel tripod. So that's grip. Okay, before we get into setup, let's go over the audio gear that I use. Starting off with the DJI Lav 2s. This is a phenomenal Lav kit. They have released different versions since I've bought these, some smaller ones, but these work great for me, so really no reason to upgrade. And generally, I'm running it with their actual lavalier. For our secondary audio, this is the Rode NTG 3B boom mic. This thing goes with me pretty much anytime I'm shooting interviews. It's a phenomenal mic to boom out overhead and get some really good audio. And generally I can run a mix between the Lav and the boom depending on what sounds better based on the environment. Of course, XLR cable here. And that system plugs into this Zoom H4n audio recorder here, and naturally got the Sony headphones. But yeah, that's audio. Everything works great, sounds great, and is easy to use and pretty low footprint. All right, we've gone through all the gear. Now it's time to actually get set up and go through the process of what I do when it comes to setting up for my interviews. We're gonna be filming an interview of myself here in my apartment today using my desk setup as the background. The two main things that I'm looking for as soon as I walk into the room is composition. First, where do I think I'm going to put my camera in relation to the room, in relation to the subject in relation to the background. I'm looking for depth, I'm looking for interest. And then the second thing that I'm looking for is the lighting. Yes, we're going to light the whole scene and shape it to how we want for maximum control, but I want to see where the natural light is coming in from the room. So before getting any lights actually placed, I'm going to look at through the camera, where is the light coming from? In this instance, the light is coming from these three massive windows to my right. So I'm probably going to place the camera on the left side and be looking somewhere here. That way we're filming shadow side, lighting from this side, and our light will be nice and motivated by the natural light. So one tool that I find really useful, especially when I'm filming by myself, is this remote monitor, Monitor Plus. So it allows me to monitor exactly what's going on my camera from my iPad. That way, as I make adjustments, I can see exactly what's happening to the frame. Another lighting tool that I didn't mention is this 5-in-1 reflector. You can get them really cheap on Amazon, but this is just a great fill side tool and problem solver if you need a little bit of bounce and you just want to fill in the shadows a little bit, or if you want to create more shadows and have a higher contrast ratio on the face, then you can pop in the negative fill and push that in. Another key to having some quality light is having practicals in your scene. So for example, this lamp or this little light bar, they're going to add nice visual interest in our scene and help motivate our backlight. Okay, now we're sitting in a pretty good place. We have our lights roughly set up how we want them. Key light, kicker, background light is off screen over there. But the next step that I really like to prioritize is actually going through and turning off all the lights and turning them all on one by one, starting with the practicals to see what it's actually doing to my scene. That'll help me adjust for exposure and just get a good idea of what my light is actually doing. You can't just blast light into a scene and expect it to look good. The purpose of lighting is to actually shape that light. So that's what we're doing as cinematographers. We're shaping the light. So that's the next step. Okay, I wasn't really getting what I was wanting, so I made a quick pivot and I'm dropping this kicker on the same side as my key, which I never really knew the rule on that. You know, does the key light go on the same, or does the hair light go on the same side as the key, or does it not? I don't really know. I just try and do what looks best. But the reason why I'm doing this and booming it out is typically what I would do on a client set. I guess I was just getting a little lazy. Okay, we are now in much better shape. We've shaped pretty much all of our light. We've turned everything on and off. The last thing I do want to do before we actually move into getting the shot is show you what this negative fill is doing. So here is the shot with negative fill. And now if we take it away, we're looking at something like this. And then from there, it's really just about pushing and pulling light levels to see, you know, what looks best. To give you a reference at some of the power of these lights, my hair light, I think, is at maybe 6% power. My key light is at 9% power. And the background light, I want to say, is at 45% power, and my camera settings are 1/50, of course, 640 ISO. Those are locked in. I'm at a 3.5 aperture, and I'm not using any kind of ND filter. So yeah, it's really just a balance game, figuring out, what balance of light versus shadow do you have in frame, depending on, what look you're going for. We're going for something pretty simple and classic here, so no need to do the most, but we still want to lock everything down to make sure it looks nice. As you can see, why I said in the beginning of the video, people that say gear doesn't matter, like, shut up, because it clearly does. I would not be able to create this image without all of this gear. Now, can I do a lot with natural light? Can you do a lot with one light? Absolutely. And I'm not disagreeing with that. And if you don't have all of the gear, then that shouldn't hold you back from shooting. But when you're talking about semi-larger scale productions, or when you're talking about accomplishing specific looks, gear does matter. You have to have certain pieces in your toolkit in order to achieve certain looks. And that's just the reality. So anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at these image shots. We're going to go ahead and wrap the video here. If you're still watching, I appreciate you for sticking around to the end. Hopefully you found some kind of value in this content. This is what I use, and this is my knowledge up until this point. I hope it continues to increase, but working with what I have and, doing something that I love. I'm passionate about this stuff, so I love continuing to learn, continue to grow. And yeah, let's just keep all leveling up as creatives, keep getting better. Anyway, until next time, peace.